What's up, world? It's a beautiful Saturday here in the DMV. And on the line today for the interview, I have my man, Buddy Wike from legendary group Intro. Intro gave us hits like Come Inside, Let Me Be the One, and Love Thing. And it also featured the late, great Kenny Greene as their lead vocalist. Mr. Wike's part in Intro was the song's producer and songwriter. So I want everyone to give it up for Mr. Buddy Wike and welcome him to the interview. How you doing today, sir?
Thank you. Thank you for that kind introduction. I'm doing good. How you doing, man? How you making out?
Blessed, brother. I can't complain. I'm waking up every day. I haven't caught anything. And, you know, the coronavirus, the one good thing about it is it's giving me a chance to create and just work on my brand and become better at everything that I do on a day-to-day basis.
That's what's up, man. That's perfect. Yep.
So, how did you get your start in music, and when did you link up with the original members of Intro?
Okay, I got started in music. My dad, he was a musician. He played piano and organ in church. So we had an organ and a piano at the church, so he would play the organ, and I would just go sit at the piano and start playing with one finger. And, you know, years later, I was playing with 3-4 fingers, the whole hand, and by the time I was 11, they started paying me to play for the church. And once that started, I started playing for the choir, and it was just music from there for me. And I pretty much played the piano in church until I was 18. I went into the military, and it was in the military where I met Kenny Greene, who would come on to become, God bless his soul, rest in peace. He would become the lead singer of Intro. But I met him in the Army, and it was there that we started rehearsing. And, I was introduced to him by a friend named Ken Thomas, who told me that he knew a friend that could sing. He said, I told him that you know how to play piano, so I want to get you guys together. We started going to the recreation center. I would get on the piano. Kenny would write the songs, and that's how we got started initially.
Dope. So when you guys were in the military together, were you guys in the same barracks?
No, we weren't in the same barracks. I was in the 82nd Airborne Division, and he was in another company. But we were on the same post, but we weren't in like the same companies and stuff. And I ended up getting deployed to like the Gulf War, but Kenny had got out of the Army by then. So it was after the Gulf War that we really like latched down and started rehearsing and doing talent shows and looking at, you know, doing it like on a next level, like seeing where it would take us. We didn't know if we were going to do it professionally or not, but we knew that we wanted to do something musically. Yeah,
I love that myself, and I can remember, you know, when I was a DJ, and you know there were so many singers and so many rappers on bass, and you would always like, you know, try to find somebody who was kind of in the same dormitory. You know, Air Force we call it dorms as opposed to the barracks.
Yeah.
You could link up and make, you know, music together. You would find somebody who might be on another base, maybe like 20 minutes away, and you guys would link up and do music. You know, someone was coming to me when I was DJing on a Friday night and say, yeah, you need to link up with someone. So, you know, they're in the med squadron. You know, they're over at this base. Link up with that person. So you guys can, you know, make some music together.
Yep. Some people even had like little recording studios in their rooms. You know, it might be like a 4-track or something. Yep.
How did you all
that's good. Really met up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
How did you all link up with legendary Eddie F?
We linked up with Eddie F. Fast forward a little bit. We came to New York. I lived in New York. Kenny was from Detroit. We came up to New York to start recording. My friend Pika introduced me to Jeff Sanders, and Jeff Sanders came on board with the group. We were rehearsing in Jeff's mother's backyard for pretty much like the whole summer. And one night we went out to a club called the Red Zone. And on the way to the Red Zone, we were singing a song by Heavy D called Peaceful Journey. It was a song that he had did with Jodeci. And when we got to the club, we saw Heavy D there, and we told him, like, hey, man, we was just singing your song on the way to the club. He was like, oh, which one? We was like, Peaceful Journey. He's like, oh, let me hear it. And we sung it for him. And he was like, oh, why don't y'all give me your numbers? So we gave him our number. And about 2 weeks later, he called, and he said that he wanted us to meet with Eddie F., who had a company called Untouchables, and he was looking for a male singer group. And we came back up to New York, and we met with Eddie F., and like immediately upon signing, he put us to work as songwriters. Like immediately, he started putting us in the studio with different artists, doing collaborations, and introducing us to his friends in the music industry, like the CEOs of the major labels, and it was quite interesting. Yeah.
You all worked on Mary J's first album, What's the 411, prior to recording Intro's debut. Is it true that Reminisce, Love No Limit, and My Love were meant for Intro's debut album?
Those three songs right there, they were recorded by Dave Hall, who's the producer for Let Me Be the One, So Many Reasons, Funny How Time Flies, and so many other great artists. Those songs, we recorded them in the male voice of Intro, doing the background, and Kenny Greene singing the leads. They were in a batch of songs. And from those batch of songs, those songs ended up with Mary J. Blige. Had they not ended up with Mary J. Blige, they probably would have been on our first album. Yep.
In 1993, the group releases its debut album, fueled by the singles Love Thing, Let Me Be the One, and the iconic slow jam, Come Inside, as well as the cover of Stevie Wonder's Ribbon in the Sky. What do you recall about that time?
Of recording the album, I just remember us leaving the studio, like, after we record these songs and be like, we have something different. We have something special. Like I was in the group, but like it seemed like with every recording session and seeing how it was coming together with working with the new producers and stuff, I was really becoming a fan of the group myself. And it was just like, it's an amazing time because it wasn't that we were reinventing the wheel, but we were changing music, just throwing everything on top of the hip-hop. And then also running into these, like, super talented producers like Neville Hodge that produced Come Inside and Ribbon in the Sky. So we had the best of both worlds. We had the dope up-tempo producers like DJ Eddie F. and Dave Hall and Kenny Cornegay and Spunk Bigger. But then we also had, like, the best of the slow jams with Neville Hodge. And I was very excited about recording that album. And, you know, I didn't know if it was going to sell one copy, but I knew, me personally, I would enjoy listening to it. If we would have recorded that album and I would have just used it to clean my house every day, I would have enjoyed it. But people had other plans. They had other plans.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm a military vet myself.
And my first duty service, man.
Thank you. RAF Lakenheath in England. I noticed a photo of the group at the NCO Club. Did you all ever do the USO tours with other groups in the 90s during your prime?
We never got on the USO tours. That would have been a really nice look. But we did perform at different military bases throughout England and Germany. And I do remember performing at an Air Force base in England. I do remember that distinctively because of the voices and, you know, the accent, the British accent, while we're in England. And then for that one night, we were like around Americans most of the evening. Yeah, I remember that.
You have a writing credit on Come Inside. Had Intro not recorded the song, is there another group or singer you would have given the song to?
Had Intro not performed Come Inside, who would I have liked to have sung the song? At that time, it would have had to been like a Jodeci or H-Town or Silk, one of those three guys right there. But they were, singing the back. They're like nice, cool, romantic songs as well.
What about a Charlie or a Luther? If Luther decided he wanted to get risque with his music.
Oh, Luther? I don't know if I could see Luther singing that one. It's I don't know. I don't know about Luther. I have a funny story about Luther too. It's not really funny, but I walked into a really empty restaurant called Deo's, which is in Manhattan, one afternoon, and he was sitting there with Nile Rodgers having lunch, and it was just the three of us in there. And I spoke to them, and guess what? It's like, why don't you just sit over here? And I pretty much had lunch with Luther Vandross and Nile Rodgers, just off of me wanting some. I think, what was the dish there? I think it was like oxtails and macaroni and cheese. It was like one of my favorite restaurants. But I went in early in the day before anybody was there, and those two were just sitting there. I was like, oh, snap.
The second album, 1995's New Life, wasn't as successful as the first. In my opinion, the album showed growth for you as a producer and writer, and for Kenny as a vocalist. Now, I know that it's been said that during that album it was very personal. You guys were dealing with some personal issues, such as Kenny's father passing away. That being said, do you feel like the second album was under-promoted by the label?
The second album wasn't given attention as the first album from the record company. What they didn't understand was that the second album, when we got the budget to go in and record the second album, Kenny's dad had just passed away. So they were expecting us to deliver the second album. They wanted us to deliver the first album all over again. They wanted us to follow up on that, but we weren't in that frame of mind. The whole second album, New Life, was an album that was dedicated to Kenny's dad, and most of the songs on there, New Life, My Song, there's so many good songs on that New Life album, but it sounds nothing like our first album. It didn't sound like what people expected. So they released two singles. They released Funny How Time Flies and Feels Like the First Time, which were the only two songs off of that album that resembled the sound of the first album. And then they just moved on to other projects. So they gave us production on two of the songs, and then after that, they pretty much just let the album work itself. And without promotions during that time, that was like before the internet and all that stuff. We needed the labels to notify people that we had the songs out. But slowly but surely, that album has taken off in weird places. Like that album is big in Korea. Like, well, how? New Life is almost as bigger than the original intro album in like places like Korea. Yeah, I think we kind of left the fans out there a little bit because they didn't know that Kenny's dad had passed away, and the whole idea of why this album sounds so different. The label never told them. The label never said this album is pretty much a dedication to Kenny Greene's father's passing. They just promoted it as this is Intro's second album. So
it's some heat on New Life, especially the remixes for Feels Like the First Time and Funny How Time Flies. Classic.
Yeah, we were able to get.
Was there a particular song that you felt should have been a single?
On the second album, I like My Song and Spending My Life With You. Those are like two of my favorite songs on there. Now, the song New Life, if you listen to New Life, the actual song is so deep and there's so many different metaphors in there. It's almost like a spiritual song, like a spiritual song, almost like a hymn.
So after the second album, you guys kind of, go your separate ways. Everyone's doing their own thing. I know Kenny was writing a little bit here and there. You were still producing and writing. What was your primary focus during the group's hiatus?
Building my home studio, building my catalog, helping new artists, secure record deals, producing gospel albums, spending time with my family. Yep. And just doing things that I missed for the last 3 years. Cause from 93 to 95, we really didn't have a life. Our life was on the road, and it was just good to have some sense of normality again and be able to focus on my writing and producing. Because prior to Intro, that's really all I saw myself really as being was a writer and producer. I never really envisioned myself to be a member of an R&B group. I'm glad it happened, but that wasn't my focus. So pretty much shout out to Kenny Greene because everybody that knows Intro and our story, he's pretty much the heartbeat of the group, and I was just happy to be a part of it.
Sadly, Kenny passed away in 2001 and left a huge gap in the music industry. Personally, I feel that the world never got to see the best of Kenny Greene. Do you think, had he not passed, his name would be mentioned among the great singers and songwriters of the 90s?
Oh, definitely. Definitely, 100%. I think Kenny would, if Kenny was still alive, he would definitely be one of the best writers of all time, I believe. He was way ahead of his time, and he left way before his time, And he left so many good songs behind, and it was just can't say tragic because it's God's will, but it was heartbreaking to see him pass away at such an early age. There's so much more to do, and he's a really good guy, man. Really good guy.
2012, Intro returns to the music scene. How was it getting back out on that stage?
The stage felt empty. Even though we had added new members and tried different tactics of delivering the show to make it sound as close as what they were used to seeing, it felt empty. And it just honestly wasn't the same. And even though people come out to the shows now and they'll give us a pat on the back, thanks for coming out, it's a good show and stuff like that. It'll never be the same. It'll never be the same without Kenny.
Didn't you guys start with having Horace Brown join the group at one time?
Horace is like my brother, so we've been in the studios so many hours and working on new songs and things like that. And for a little while, we did think about doing that. We discussed it, but Horace is such a large entity in itself that I think something would have gotten overshadowed. We would have been kind of wasting. No, I'm not going to say wasting stuff. We would have been how can I put this? It would have been overkill. We could still hit the road, which we do a lot. We do Intro, Horace Brown, and Mr.Cheeks, so the Lost Boys. That we've toured that lineup countless times, and it's a really, really good show. So now with Horace and Intro, then it would just be Intro and the Lost Boys. With Horace, you know what I'm saying? It's better to keep that brand. The Horace Brown brand is strong and still building, so just to keep that by itself. And when we perform, we just sold out the O2 Arena with that lineup we had H-Town. The show's called H-Town and Friends, but we had that on there. Horace Brown, Mr. Cheeks, and Intro. And, yeah, just him being an entity in his own right. You know, that's like, if they start doing trades like the NBA, then it all makes sense, you know. But that's our brother. Matter of fact, I just spoke to him on yesterday. So me, Horace, and Mr. Cheeks, we've probably recorded about, I want to say like 5 or 6 songs, and we call ourselves the super group. We are like superheroes. By day, we have our own personal careers. Horace Brown, Mr. Cheeks, Buddy White, but at night we turn into superheroes. And it's called a super group, and our mission is to save whack parties. You know? It's always like a cartoon, but we've always been vibing on that, you know, super group. Our mission is to save whack parties. You get a little bit of everything.
Looking forward to hearing some of you guys' collaborations. So speaking on artists, what was the last classic R&B or hip-hop album you heard?
The last classic hip-hop, the new Lost Boys album, 1226 Grand Scheme, is like going back to the 90s. It's like the album I could put on and listen from beginning to end. And you might think I'm saying that because I have a song on there, but it really is really, really good.
And what about R&B?
Classic R&B was from an artist named Jessie Wu. Her name is Jessie Wu, and she came out on KSR label, and it's really one of those albums, kind of like an intro album. It's really fire, but it's going to probably get overlooked because she's a new artist, and it's just a lot going on right now. You know, a lot of people's interests are not on looking for new artists and stuff. But right now they have the opportunity to listen. If somebody want to listen to a real good classic R&B album, just Google Jessie Wu. It's really good. I think she's from Love and Hip Hop Miami, one of the actresses on there. But that's a start to finish. And, of course, Gregory Porter, all day.
From a producer's standpoint, what do you feel is missing in modern R&B music?
Patience. With technology being the way it is, it's so easy to microwave a song, just grab a beat off the internet, sing an idea, mix it, add your layers on the vocals and keep it moving. A lot of people, you know, they're missing out on like the real meat of these songs, like layering vocals and structuring vocal harmonies. And I think music is just moving too fast because you can make it so fast now. Like, and there's very little soul in it. There's words, there's lyrics, it's catchy, but there's very little soul. And I think that's what's missing in today's music. There's a lot of good R&B music out, and not every song is a miss, but it kind of breaks my heart to hear a song that has great content and great production, but then on the vocals it's like a wasted opportunity because they didn't spend time producing the vocals. You can't just produce the music, you have to produce the vocals as well.
If there's ever an intro biopic, who would you pick to portray yourself and Kenny Greene? I know you guys are working on the documentary.
Yeah,
which I'm looking forward to. But should you guys ever do like a movie, who would you want to see play yourself and Kenny Greene?
I don't know. I probably have to grab my nephew to play myself because he's an artist, and everybody always tell me, they ask me, is that your son? And I'm like, no, it's my nephew. They say, oh, you guys look alike. So I'd probably get him and Kenny Greene. If I was to get someone, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like,
I think vocally, me, your man Luke James, who played Johnny Gill, could pull it off. because he can act and sing.
All right. Okay.
Because, as they say, it's hard to find people that can do both. So you either got to get a singer, teach them how to act, or you get a actor and teach them how to sing.
Yeah.
But Kenny has such a unique voice. Maybe like an actor, then you guys just use Kenny's vocals and have him lip sing.
I think we might have to, because I haven't heard Kenny's voice. Like Eric Roberson reminds me of Kenny Greene. Like their tone is similar, but you'd have to go into the female room to find his like tone. You have to go to like Layla Hathaway to hear like a Kenny Greene, because his voice is something else. And he's a great rapper as well. He wasn't always a singer.
What do you have planned music-wise for 2020 once the COVID clears up?
We're just trying to create new experiences, not try to come back with just doing shows and releasing songs. We want to try to create like a new experience, like create a new vehicle for music, because no one's ever really paid for the music. They've never paid for the music. They've always paid for the vehicle. They've paid for the 8-track tape. They bought the cassette. They bought the CD. If we could create like a new vehicle, streaming is beautiful and everything, but I wish somebody would create like a new device that people would get a hold to, and then they would have to go back to actually purchasing something physical in their hands. Once this all dies down, like we're trying to do like everyone else, like a strong online presence right now, connecting with our listeners. So when this does clear up, the concert promoters will call and say, hey, we're putting together some music festivals, like to bring you guys out. Because as of right now, we're starting to miss shows that we have booked. Like June 27th, we're supposed to be in London. Of course, that's canceled. But then following that, of course, everything else behind that is going to be canceled as well until, things, hopefully get better soon. So we're planning to do an online concert tentatively for June 5th. I'm hoping that we can pull that off. Just some outdoor, social distance, no real audience, maybe just a few close friends spread apart. And let's see where it goes. It's a lot of uncertainty, but there's still a lot of inspiration. There's still a lot of desire, ambition, dreams. So all of that's going to play into part once this starts to clear up. Entertaining and singing is like boxing. You got to stay in the gym. And that's the main thing. We're in the gym. So once the opportunity presents itself, we'll be ready.
And is the doc still going to drop this year, or you think you're going to have to push that back?
The documentary should be in all platforms no later than August. No later than August. Because, of course, we were still in production when this hit. And the director is brilliant. His name is Jason Evans. He's brilliant, so he's able to piece together the rest of it without actually having to extend the production of it. Like what we have is what it is now. I mean, we were going to add more bells and whistles to it, but it's really not needed. Everything else could be done through videos and songs and the interviews that we have. So the sizzle reel will be in circulation within the next 2 weeks. Like you'll start seeing the commercial for the documentary popping up within the next 2 weeks.
Oh, snap. Dope. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to have a soundtrack with it.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that you guys are going to have some new songs on there, too, some unreleased stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, brother.
Thank you.
So where can fans find you on social media? And is there anything you'd like to add?
On social media, Buddy Wike Music. On Facebook, just Buddy Wike. My last name is like a bike, but with a W, W-I-K-E. I have BuddyWike.com. We have The Real Intro R&B on Instagram. And one thing that I would like to add, I guess I always like to teach kind of like the new artists and drop them a bone or something. And what I would say to them is that just stay true to yourself. Don't try to sound like anyone else, and build your fan base organically. And don't base your success on the next person's success. Just because somebody else is selling X amount of records and you're not, don't feel like you're not successful because you're not. Just keep going at it. It's the person that stays humble and stays kind to people that win in the long run. Don't cut anybody's throat to try to get ahead, because you'll make a leap, but then you'll be stuck right there because nobody else will want to work with you. Stay true to yourself and build your fan base organically, no matter how long it takes. Focus on one fan a day. They'll tell somebody else. That's it.
Cool. Well, all right, folks. I hope you guys enjoy learning about some Intro's history. My man, Buddy Wike. As always, I learned stuff that I didn't know. I want to thank Mr. Wike for taking time out of his busy schedule, making new music, and bringing R&B back to talk with my platform. As always, stay positive, be blessed, and stay inspired. And to quote Maurice White of the legendary Earth, Wind & Fire, keep your head to the sky. Until next time, Dunn out.
Thank you, Don.